Have you ever faced something hard, something you knew you needed to do, but your mind resisted anyway? Waking up early, finishing a project you keep delaying, staying consistent with training, discipline, or focus. You know it's good for you. And yet, your brain says, not now, later, let's stay comfortable. This inner resistance frustrates most people. It makes them feel weak, lazy, or broken. But here is the truth most never learn. Your brain is not designed to choose what is best. It is designed to choose what is easy. And the people who consistently do hard things, who train when others quit, who move forward when others hesitate, are not more talented than you. They are trained differently. In this teaching, you will learn how ancient Japanese warriors, monks, and disciplined minds trained the brain to embrace difficulty instead of avoiding it. You will learn why willpower fails most people, how struggle can be turned into fuel, and how to rewire your mind to want the hard path instead of running from it. This method is not modern motivation. It is not hustle culture, and it is not forcing yourself through pain with anger. It is older, quieter, and far more effective. It is called the Lotus Method. And to understand it, we must begin with a story. A real one. From 12th century Japan, during the time of the Genpei War, there lived a warrior monk named Benkei. As a young man, Benkei was wild, undisciplined, and driven by ego. He picked fights constantly, challenged anyone who crossed his path, and believed strength came from domination. Until one day, he challenged the wrong man. A quiet, focused samurai named Minamoto no Yoshitsune. For the first time in his life, Benkei was defeated. But what happened next is what matters. He did not become bitter. He did not rage. He did not retreat into shame. Instead, Benkei bowed and pledged his loyalty. From that moment on, his life transformed. He endured brutal training, long journeys, freezing nights, hunger, and relentless battle. Yet he did not break. Why? Because Benkei learned to see struggle differently. He stopped asking, how do I avoid pain? And began asking, how does this shape me? He understood something rare. Hardship was not punishment, it was training. And this mindset, the ability to grow through resistance, is the heart of the Lotus Method. In Eastern philosophy, the lotus flower is one of the most powerful symbols. Not because it is delicate, not because it is pretty, but because of where it grows. The lotus does not bloom in clean water. It rises from mud, dark, resistant conditions, and instead of rejecting the mud, it uses it. This is the core lesson. Growth does not come from comfort. It comes from pressure, resistance, and disciplined engagement with difficulty. The Lotus Method teaches you how to train your brain to stop flinching from discomfort, stop negotiating with resistance, and start using hardship as a tool. In the next part, we will begin breaking this method down step by step, using principles drawn from ancient Japanese discipline and supported by modern neuroscience. You will learn why your brain resists hard things and how to change that relationship permanently. For now, understand this. Your resistance is not a flaw. It is a signal that you are standing at the edge of growth. Most people misinterpret this moment. They assume discomfort means something is wrong. The Japanese did not see it this way. In Zen training, difficulty was expected, and hesitation was treated as information, not a command. When the body resisted, they did not retreat. They adjusted their breathing, their posture, their attention. They understood that the mind does not lead first, the body does. And when the body moves with intention, the mind follows. This is why so many people fail to change, even when they are motivated. They argue with their thoughts. They wait to feel ready. They negotiate with discomfort. But discipline was never built through debate. It was built through practice, through repetition, through learning to stay present, even when every instinct says to pull away. The Lotus Method begins here, not with force, not with aggression, not with punishment, but with a shift in relationship. You stop treating discomfort as an enemy and begin treating it as a teacher. This is why warriors trained in silence, why monks sat motionless for hours, why repetition was sacred. They were not building muscles. They were building nervous systems, a nervous system that does not panic under pressure, that does not collapse when things feel hard, that does not need constant comfort to function. This is the kind of mind that does hard things naturally. Not because it is fearless, but because it is familiar with discomfort, and familiarity dissolves resistance. If you stay with me, in the next section, we will begin breaking the Lotus Method into its core stages, starting with the first and most misunderstood principle: how to sit with discomfort, without reacting to it. How to stop fighting your brain, and start training it. Because once this foundation is set, hard things stop feeling like punishment, and start feeling like purpose, and that is where real transformation begins. To force the brain to do hard things, you must stop treating resistance as a problem. Resistance is not the enemy. Avoidance is. Most people believe the brain must feel ready before action. The Japanese understood the opposite. Action comes first. This is the foundation of the Lotus Method. The lotus does not wait for perfect water. It does not wait for sunlight. It does not wait to feel prepared. It begins in the mud. In Japanese discipline, this first stage is known as nintai, enduring patience. Not passive waiting, but steady presence under pressure. Nintai teaches one essential rule: do not react to discomfort. Most people fail here. The moment discomfort appears, they rush to escape it. They distract themselves. They delay. They rationalize. But the disciplined mind does something different. It notices the discomfort and does not move away. This is not strength. This is training. Modern neuroscience calls this psychological flexibility, the ability to experience discomfort without impulsive reaction. When you stay present with resistance, without feeding it stories, your nervous system begins to change. The alarm quiets, the urge softens, the mind becomes workable. This is why the Lotus Method never begins with force. Force creates rebellion. Presence creates compliance. The first practice is simple, but uncomfortable. When resistance appears, you do not argue with it. You do not suppress it. You breathe. You name the sensation. And you stay. This is the seed stage. Buried. Invisible. Unimpressive. But all growth begins here. The second stage of the Lotus Method begins when the plant starts to rise. In Japanese discipline, this is called shisei. Posture, stance, orientation toward challenge. The Japanese understood something modern psychology now confirms. The body leads the mind. Your posture shapes your perception. Your breathing shapes your emotions. Your movement shapes your thoughts. This is why disciplined warriors did not slump, even in exhaustion. They moved with intention. They stood with structure, not to look confident, but to become stable. When facing something hard, your body often signals retreat before your mind forms words. Shallow breath, hesitation in movement. The Lotus Method interrupts this pattern. Before beginning any difficult task, you change your posture. You sit upright. You ground your feet. You slow your breathing. You set your jaw gently and orient forward. This signals the nervous system. We are not under threat. We are engaged. Confidence does not appear first. Structure does. From posture, action becomes possible. The third stage of the Lotus Method emerges as the lotus nears the surface. This stage is known as kanso, reflection without indulgence. The disciplined mind reflects, not to judge, but to see clearly. In Japanese training, progress was reviewed regularly, without pride and without shame. Modern science supports this practice. Reflection strengthens motivation. It reinforces neural pathways. It makes progress real to the brain. Without reflection, effort feels endless, and the mind disengages. The Lotus Method uses reflection precisely, not emotional journaling, not self-criticism, but simple questions. What did I face? What did I complete? What became easier than before? This teaches the brain to associate discomfort with progress. And what the brain associates with progress, it stops resisting. This is the quiet rewiring, the invisible transformation. By this point, something subtle begins to shift. Hard things no longer feel hostile. They feel familiar, and familiarity dissolves fear. In the final stage, the lotus blooms, but that stage is not about achievement. It is about identity, and that is where we will go next. In the final section, you will learn how repeated exposure to discomfort transforms discipline into instinct and effort into character. Where hard things stop feeling forced and start feeling natural, that is where the Lotus Method completes itself. The final stage of the Lotus Method is not about success. It is not about achievement. It is not about proving anything. It is about who you become. In Japanese discipline, this final stage was never rushed, because identity is not built in moments. It is built through repetition. Day after day, choice after choice, the lotus blooms, not because the mud disappears, but because it has risen through it enough times. This stage is known as kaka, the bloom through struggle. For the disciplined warrior, this was transcendence, a point where effort no longer felt forced, and discipline no longer felt heavy. Not because things became easy, but because the nervous system adapted. Modern neuroscience confirms this. The brain changes based on what it repeatedly does. This is neuroplasticity. Every time you choose discomfort, your brain rewires. Every time you stay present under pressure, new pathways strengthen. What once felt unbearable becomes tolerable. What once felt difficult becomes familiar. And what becomes familiar eventually becomes automatic. This is why true discipline looks effortless from the outside. You are not seeing motivation. You are seeing conditioning. The Lotus Method trains identity, not willpower. It teaches your brain, this is who I am. I do hard things. I stay when others retreat. Not as a belief, but as lived experience. And once identity is formed, behavior follows without resistance. This is why punishment never works long term. This is why hype fades. This is why motivation collapses. But training endures. The Lotus Method does not demand extremes. It demands consistency. One meaningful discomfort each day, not to punish yourself, but to reinforce who you are becoming. Focused work without distraction. Training when it would be easier to skip. Small acts, repeated daily. This is how the bloom happens. Quietly, without announcement. And one day, you notice something has changed. The hard thing no longer feels heavy. The resistance arrives, but it no longer controls you. You move forward anyway. Not because you are fearless, but because fear is no longer unfamiliar. This is the way of the lotus. Growth does not come from comfort. It comes from facing the mud, rising through it, and blooming anyway. So the next time your brain says, this is too hard, do not argue. Do not negotiate. Remember this training. Remember the lotus. Hard things are not obstacles. They are invitations. If this teaching resonated with you, please subscribe for more ancient wisdom, fused with modern science. And before you go, ask yourself one question. What is one hard thing, meaningful thing, you are committing to today? And as always, remember to stay in tune with your own mind frequency.